If you care about lap times, you buy a coupe. So if you're going to buy a convertible Ferrari instead, why not treat it like a GT car and just enjoy the drive? Enter the 2021 Ferrari F8 Spider. To explain, let me take you back a dozen years back when I first started at Motor Trend. The office was located in a different part of town, on the edge of Los Angeles and Beverly Hills. My apartment was in Koreatown, due east down Wilshire Boulevard, a clogged artery if ever there were one. Much more pleasant was the drive down 3rd or 6th Street, which run parallel through the beautiful old neighborhood of Hancock Park. Beverly Hills gets all the press, but Hancock Park is full of enormous historic homes and equally enormous net worth. Every morning on my drive west, I'd see the same Aston Martin DB9 coming the opposite way, and it always made me smile. You see, even in Los Angeles, even in Beverly Hills, people don't drive their exotic cars to work, unless it's the Beverly Hills Taxi, better known as the Bentley Continental. Sure, you see Aston Martins and Ferraris far more regularly here than most other places in the world, but it's not like you see them every day, and certainly not outside certain areas. But here this guy was, driving his DB9 to work every day instead of locking it away in the garage until the weekend. You'll argue the DB9 is a GT car, not a supercar, but it's a fine hair to split. It didn't handle like a supercar, but it wasn't any more practical than one, either, and it certainly leaned harder on sportiness than luxury. A convertible supercar, like a 2021 Ferrari F8 Spider, isn't much different in that regard. The miracle of modern supercars is they're still super when you cut off the roof. Modern engineering and materials allow you to remove a critical structural member and not turn the chassis into taffy. You used to have to choose between all-out performance and the wind in your hair. Now you just have to choose between all-out performance and slightly less than all-out performance. Not because you cut the roof off, per se, but because the motors and hinges and reinforcements that allow you to choose your level of enclosure add weight. In this case, a relatively meaningless 154 pounds, says a company notorious for rounding down liberally on estimated weights. It's meaningless because this car makes 710 horsepower and 568 pound-feet of torque. If we assume, for a moment, it weighs 154 pounds more than the coupe model we drove recently, it still weighs fewer than 3,700 pounds. It's the difference between a weight-to-power ratio of 4.97 pounds/HP and 5.21 pounds/HP. In other words, the pop-top has effectively zero impact on performance except to slightly raise the center of gravity. Maybe it'll be 1/100th of a second slower to 60 miles per hour, too. I don't really care, but racers would. Every ounce counts on the track. Convertible buyers are not burdened with such concerns. They simply decide between a hat and sunscreen. Freed from constraints concerning a car's purpose and where it belongs, you can simply enjoy it. The when and where don't matter, so why not anytime and anywhere? Enjoy it you shall because there's no way not to enjoy 710 horsepower. Ferrari's trick boost control system continues to do a magical job making a twin turbocharged engine feel naturally aspirated, with a gloriously linear power delivery that just keeps building and building until the steering wheel mounted warning lights begin to flash. I'm not sure if there is a greater invention, because every sports and supercar manufacturer should have copied Ferrari's steering wheel mounted shift warning lights as soon as the veil came off the first car to employ them, patents be damned. There is no other upshift warning system, from head-up displays to full-screen digital instrument clusters, nearly as good at getting your attention purely in your peripheral vision. The variable boost control is a hell of a trick as well. You can't feel it working, but it's always there, watching your throttle position and engine speed and increasing pressurization just enough to create explosive performance rather than surging performance. Of course, those turbochargers come at a price. For all they do to create the most powerful Ferrari V8 in history, they take away from the primal scream which raised its pitch as linearly as the power until you knew you had to shift because it sounded like the engine was about to shred itself into swarf. Now, you need those lights more than ever because while Ferrari may have made a turbocharged V8 sound more melodic than most, it lacks the drama. Don't pay attention, and you'll run straight into the rev limiter if you're shifting by sound. And you should shift. Not because you need to, but because you enjoy driving. That the Ferrari F8 Spider would turn a quicker lap time shifting itself is as irrelevant as the weight gain. The big, delicate shift paddles beckon every time your fingertips brush them. You want to pull them just because they're there. Do it. Ferrari even gives you an incentive. The gear changes are noticeably sharper when you pull them yourself. Not trying to hurt you like a Lamborghini, but as if you were slamming gears on a manual transmission. Like you're whipping the car, not to hurt it but to beckon the most from it. The smile bestowed by the drivetrain won't be erased by the brakes, something the 488 always had trouble demonstrating. Even when it won Best Driver's Car in 2017, The 488 GTB was blemished by brakes that lacked bite, to put it mildly. Stand on them like you're trying to break the pedal off, my review at the time said. I smile when automakers listen to feedback and react. As a result, the F8's brake feel is substantially better than the 488's. It's not perfect. You need to take a cue from that prancing horse eyeballing you from the center of the steering wheel and put your hoof in it. Ferrari still needs to buy a Porsche 911 Turbo S and reverse engineer its braking system. But in the meantime, this improvement makes the car so much more enjoyable to drive fast. How much you'll enjoy driving fast will be entirely dependent on how you position the Manettino control knob on the steering wheel. This being a Ferrari, there is no normal or comfort setting. You start at sport and go right to race, then traction control off, and finally traction and stability control off. At least, that's what it says on the switch. In practice, the Manettino and the side slip control system it governs is more accurately described as dial adrift. Sport mode will save you from yourself with enough of a knuckle slap to let you know you messed up. Race mode dons a cloak of invisibility, hiding its corrections and adjustments so shrewdly you'd swear it wasn't doing anything. You really believe the car is that poised, has that much grip, and you're that good of a driver and everything is falling perfectly in place. Purists will balk, but when the lies are this good, I say lie to me. They are grand lies indeed, as you'll find out for yourself if you switch the dial to CT off. Turn the wheel and goose the throttle, and you'll see just how impressive this mid-engine and 710 horsepower is in this car. If you'd like to watch the road from a side window rather than the windshield, it'll happily oblige. You're not entirely on your own, though. It won't let you spin the car, as long as you keep it on the pavement. If you want to see how quickly you can write off a car that starts around $300,000, give the Manettino one more click and you'll see what happens when you play it fast and loose. If you're doing this all with the roof down, as you should be, you'll notice a few other things. For one, it's a damn good convertible. The little Targa-like roof flips over and stows on top of the engine, under a cover of streamliner humps. In addition to looking better than a typical convertible with its roof down, Ferrari has done a magnificent job of controlling airflow in the cabin. It has certainly done better than McLaren has done with its similarly priced and powered 720S Spider. It's the difference between having your hair playfully mussed and sticking your head out the window. Unlike the carbon-tubbed McLaren, though, you will notice a bit of cowl shake in the aluminum-tubbed Ferrari, the only giveaway from a chassis that traces its design back to the 458 of a decade ago. None of that factors into why you should daily drive your Ferrari, though. That comes from the second most important of the myriad steering wheel buttons after the starter, bumpy road mode. The Manettino rheological shock absorbers have the unmatched ability, sorry, McLaren, to switch from a sporty or racy ride to one comfortable enough for the daily commute. I press it immediately after starting the engine as a matter of procedure. With the ride smoothed and the transmission shifting itself, there's no reason to leave the Ferrari in the garage, though I do recommend utilizing the nose lifter to avoid those painful scrapes on steep curb cuts. You bought the car to be seen, so drive it for all to see. Drive it to the office. Run a few errands. Put your golf clubs in the front seat. It's a car, it's meant to be driven. The only thing that could make it a better GT car would be a slightly wider frunk space that would allow a standard-sized carry-on bag to lay flat instead of at an angle, maximizing available cargo space when you go away for the weekend. Get away? Won't that put a lot of miles on the car? Yeah, that's the point. The F8 Spider may be great, but it's not a 250 GTO. It's not even a limited edition. It'll never be the most collectible Ferrari, no matter how good it is. Just like you wouldn't care about lap times when buying a convertible, so too should you refuse to care about the odometer. All supercars beg to be driven, not stored. Convertibles like the F8 Spider give you every reason, excuse, and encouragement to do so. Otherwise, what's the point? Buy a painting if you want an investment. Buy an F8 Spider because you enjoy driving.